Lucy POV. It could have been hours. It could have been days. In the tunnels carved to contain the end of mankind itself, day and night blurred into one. When Lucy slowed, weary from the journey, Stone slowed with her, and they rested. "Are you sure we're not lost?" Lucy asked, her voice almost swallowed by the oppressive darkness beyond the faint glow of her halo. Her hand traced grooves in the walls, swearing they had passed this same spot at least a dozen times. Rats scurried just beyond her sight. Roaches, centipedes, and other creepy crawlies sometimes brushed her feet before disappearing into the shadows. She didn't mind bugs, but in such numbers, and in this eerie, hollow place, they gave her the chills. "I'm sure," Stone answered, following her without a hint of hesitation. With the dim light of her halo guiding them, Lucy took the lead. Stone directed her, pointing her toward the correct path at each fork from a few steps behind. Right every time, like a multiple-choice test where all the answers are the same. Stone's silence was an open invitation to keep quiet. Lucy had never been much of a talker herself. She'd often been told she could bore a rock with her lack of small talk. But Stone? He was the one rock she couldn't bore, the one who seemed impervious to her attempts to crack him open. "Left this time," Stone said, breaking the silence. Lucy obeyed, veering off the usual right turns. "Is there anything in here besides rats and bugs?" she asked, her curiosity creeping out. "Yes," Stone replied shortly. "Like what?" she pressed, her mind racing with possibilities. He didn't answer, leaving her imagination to run wild. Crocodiles or alligators? Mutated beasts, twisted by the radiation from the wars, animals escaped from labs, evolved into apex predators. Had Darius become one of them? She reminded herself that he wasn't the monster. He would be naive, sheltered by a life lived in this endless pit. He wouldn't have seen the evil she'd seen, wouldn't have learned to manipulate people the way she had. It would be easy. This journey would be the hardest part. The dimming halo confirmed that. Suddenly, the sound of pebbles falling into a pit broke the silence. Lucy stopped. Stone, lost in thought, bumped into her. Before she could brace herself, her feet slipped, and she was sliding down an incline toward the void. Her hands grasped air, then dirt, then a ledge, just as she thought she would plummet into the darkness. Even now, as Lucy dangled by her fingertips, Stone's cold demeanor didn't shift. He didn't curse in surprise like she had. He didn't rush to help her up. Instead, he stood, peering down at her with a slight, cruel smile on his lips, the same kind of smile Lucy often wore. "Should have been more careful," he said. "Help me up." Lucy gasped, her grip beginning to slip. "For what?" Stone's foot hovered above her fingers, ready to push her down further. "So you can kill Darius?" Stone asked, the mockery clear in his voice. "I'm not here to kill him," Lucy snapped. "You said you'd help me get to him." "I lied. Just like you," Stone retorted, his cruel smile stretching into something more sinister. His foot came down, striking the ledge where Lucy's fingers had just been. Pebbles and dirt cascaded down, chasing her as she spread her wings. "Asshole!" Lucy roared, her anger propelling her upward. She shot back up the incline, but paused when she saw the shocked expression on Stone's face. The wind from her wings gusted against the low ceiling, loosening dirt that fell toward the abyss below. She would have shoved him into that darkness if it weren't for the glint of the knife in the halo's light. The fear in his eyes was palpable, and he nearly tripped over his own feet as he stumbled backward. "Stay back," he hissed, swinging the knife in a wide arc. "Oh, now you warn me," Lucy taunted, flapping her wings again, forcing him to take another step back. "I could harm you right now." Stone's jaw trembled as he cowered against the wall. But then, with a flash of regained confidence, he stood tall again and sheathed the knife. "Harm me, and you'll die in these tunnels. You wouldn't dare." He was right, but not for the reasons he thought. Death came slowly for creatures like Lucy, and she didn't fear it. But for all her talk, all her bravado, she had never harmed a person. Where did one even start? Pushing him into the abyss? Strangling him while he slept? Would his quiet, calculating eyes haunt her after? Would the memory of it drive her mad? "I'll harm you and find my way," she said, but she couldn't even convince herself. "I'd rather that than have you betray me again." Stone studied her warily, keeping his distance before finally nodding. "We'll make a deal, but it'll take more honesty than you've given me so far." Lucy said nothing, so Stone continued. "I'll lead you to your brother, but you can't harm me. I know you plan to. Do whatever you want with him, but you can't harm me." Lucy scoffed, clicking her tongue. He'd read her like a book while she struggled to read him. "Fine," she said reluctantly. "I won't harm you. Not unless you try to harm me again." "Then we have a deal," Stone said, his voice hardening. "I'll take you to him." "Deal," Lucy said. "But how do we get across that pit?" "We don't," Stone replied, his tone flat. "That's the wrong way." She glared at him, but he didn't flinch. He turned and walked back the way they came, leaving Lucy to follow. She ignored his suggestion that she lead, telling him that if he fell, she'd actually pull him up. Truth or lie? Time would tell. "What has Darius ever done for you to make you try to betray me?" Lucy asked, hoping to crack open that icy exterior of Stone's and uncover his true motives. But Stone didn't answer, and she stopped walking, forcing him to disappear into the darkness. "I'm not going until you answer me," she said. "I'll hunt you down in these tunnels." Stone's footsteps stopped. He returned into the dim light of the halo, his eyes tired and his face drawn tight. Whatever satisfaction Lucy found in holding power over him, knowing that deep down he wanted to escape alive, wasn't returned. He cared about the companions he had left behind. He cared about the future of this ruined world. He cared about getting back to Pebble, nuisance though he might be. And Lucy? As long as this path led her to Darius, she cared for nothing else. That's what she told herself, even though she regretted not being kinder when she said goodbye to Pebble. Of all the people, only he had tried to help her, expecting nothing but a smile in return. "He's done nothing for me," Stone said at last. "But your father convinced me. The prophecy was misinterpreted. All of it. Appearances be damned. He's where you should be, and you were where he should have been. This could have all been different." Lucy grinned, but there was no amusement in it. Sure, the cards were on the table, but they were cards she hadn't thought she'd played yet. He found ways to know things about her that she hadn't wanted anyone else to know. "We're on the same page, then," Lucy said, her voice flat. "So why are you leading me to him? If I harm him, what's left?" "If you harm him," Stone said, his voice low, "and you might not, I have to take that chance or you'll destroy everything out there anyway." At the next fork in the tunnel, he turned them right again, just like every other time before. She should have known. Right, 100 times until he threw in a left. "I should have known," Lucy muttered. Right, until you mix it up. If." Stone laughed bitterly, his laughter echoing off the tunnel walls. The sound twisted through the darkness, bouncing off rocks until it died at the bottom. Down there, Darius waited, a broken shell of what he could have been. "Right," Stone said, his voice cold, "because people never change. You keep telling yourself that, Lucy?" In the darkness, Lucy fell. Not even the light of the halo illuminated her fall, its glow now dimmed into obscurity. Down and down she tumbled, wingless and powerless. Her panic rose the way her wings wouldn't. She opened her mouth, but the darkness swallowed even her screams and spat them out a meek whimper. She fell, away from safety and away from Stone, away from mother and father's impassive stares, their hushed whispers and furtive glances. A pair of black wings scooped beneath her, stopping her fall. Like an autumn leaf interrupted, caught in a draft before it touched the ground, the black wings carried her upwards. Falling pebbles caught up to Lucy, peppering her face and body. Real pebbles, sliding down the tunnel and startling her awake. Real pebbles and Pebble, his face illuminated by the faint glow of Lucy's halo. He held a finger up to his lips. "Pebble?" Lucy whispered. "That means shush," Pebble said back, not bothering to hush his own voice. "Not start talking. Follow me." "Follow you?" Lucy looked around, desperate to regain her bearings. She'd gone from falling to fallen, from resting in a pair of wings to jolting from the cold, hard ground. "Where's Stone?" "Papa Stone," Pebble said. "He's gone." "Gone? What do you mean gone?" Lucy clutched Stone's knife. They'd reached an uneasy peace, and she didn't trust him when she slept. She didn't trust him at any point, for that matter, but even less so when she slept. Knife or not, she'd come to wonder if she could fight him should she wake up with his hands around her throat. The actions she'd take, the moves she'd make. But gone? She hadn't planned for that. "He left, Lucy. I heard him walking back up the fork some way back. I was on the other side, so he never even saw me laying there." "You're sure it was him?" Pebble thought about that for a moment and then shrugged. "You know of anybody else down here?" Lucy didn't, and Stone was gone. It added up. "How long have you been following us?" Lucy said to Pebble. "The whole time." "Why?" "I didn't want you to go away. You're my friend, Lucy. I'm not your. Lucy caught herself before she finished, falling into an embarrassed silence. Her denials of friendship would fall on deaf ears anyways. What do you mean go away, Pebble? I was going to come back. Pebble shook his head. Nobody comes back, Lucy. Not from here. Nobody? Who else has come? Papa Stone leads people down here all the time, says your brother gets hungry that it's either them or us. I thought you said he'd be glad to see me, Lucy said. She gave Pebble an amused, sidelong glance as the boy thought that through. Maybe, Lucy, but maybe not. Some people are mean. Not you, but he might be. Not me. Yeah, right. It was all Lucy could do to not scoff, to not show him just how mean she could be. She wanted to. So desperately, she willed herself to find some witty retort, to list 100 ways she could be mean. But nothing came to mind. Do you know how to get to my brother? She asked Pebble instead. I do, Pebble said. Papa Stone taught me. Follow me. She did, unworried now about betrayal. Every step behind Stone had been another step when he might spin around and attack her, or lead her awry and send her down another pit. Lucy trusted Pebble, at least enough to get her to Darius in one piece. And then? Lucy shook away those thoughts. The more she walked, the more she worried. The further they went, the more the prophecy pushed its way to the forefront of her mind, reminding her time and time again that the evil of them was expendable, but that the good would survive. And the more she tolerated Pebble's endless chatter, the more she thought that her own demise couldn't be right. It'd take a saint to put up with this kid as long as I have. We're almost there, Lucy? Pebble said. How he knew, Lucy couldn't tell. The tunnels looked just like they'd always looked, each rock indiscernible from the last. Maybe it was the rising heat. Maybe it was the increasing size of the centipedes that scurried underfoot. Maybe it was the rolling thunder echoing through the walls. But deep in here, Lucy knew it couldn't be thunder. It couldn't be a stampede of stone folk up on the surface. That's Darius, isn't it? She asked. Pebble's usually pale face looked more pale now. His eyes betrayed his fear. His steps had slowed, and he took each with tentative apprehension. We're here, Pebble said, his voice just a whisper. Here? It's a pit, Lucy said. She took a step back, suddenly thinking that Pebble had in mind for her the same demise Stone did. The pit, Pebble said. Papa Stone always slides bodies down there, and then... So I need to fly down there? Lucy said, preparing her wings. You don't need to, Lucy. You could come back up. I'll show you the way. I'd convince Papa Stone to keep you. You could become a stone folk like me. You could be my big sister. Lucy gulped. I'm sorry, Pebble. I can't. I need to go take care of this. And then, will you be my big sister after? Lucy looked away and spread her wings. Unfamiliar moisture filled her eyes. After? What after? There won't be an after, Pebble. One way or another, there won't be an after. But she couldn't bring herself to say that, to break Pebble's hopeful heart. We'll see, Lucy said. We'll talk after. Good luck, Lucy, Pebble said, and he hugged her tight. Thanks, Pebble, Lucy almost said, but she didn't trust her voice not to crack. He let go, and Lucy walked to the precipice. Pebble stood beside her, holding her hand and craning his neck to look down. Close to the edge. Too close, and Lucy nudged him back a step. Into the darkness, Lucy fell. Pebble craned his neck again to see her until he disappeared from view, and she plunged into the inky abyss. Her halo dimmed, her pale wings slowed her descent. She opened her mouth to thank Pebble, to bid him farewell, but the darkness swallowed all sounds. She fell, away from safety and away from Pebble and his kindness. She fell until she landed atop a pile of sticks that clattered and rattled and poked her sides painfully. Reaching out, she pulled a stick up to the dim light of her halo. Bones. Human bones. She tossed the bone back onto the pile, setting off an avalanche of other bones. From the darkness, a pair of glowing red eyes opened. They blinked once. Torches lit up the rocky walls, flames flickering within hollowed skulls. Smashed boulders littered the room alongside more piles of bones. It's about time, the creature said, his voice rasping like talons on a chalkboard. His hulking, winged silhouette stepped into the light. Horns protruded from his head instead of Lucy's ever-dimming halo. His wings were black as the deepest pits en route to his lair. When he smiled, his sharpened fangs dripped crimson. Hello, Darius, Lucy said, trying her best to sound brave. The pile of bones behind her rattled. Darius scowled, fire raging in his eyes. Brought help, eh? He growled. More for me? Then he laughed, and his dungeon reverberated with his demonic cackle. Lucy hadn't brought help, not here. Not into the lair of the beast himself. She turned. Pebble stared wide-eyed. Lucy, I fell, he whimpered. I'm scared.